Welcome to MS UnMaSked, Our Journey and Beyond, a podcast where hosts Justine Martin and Allyson Brown share their personal experiences, insights and practical advice on navigating life with multiple sclerosis. Each week they delve into topics such as self-care, nutrition, exercise, sleep and symptom management. Join them as they explore the physical, emotional and mental aspects of living with MS, providing a supportive community for listeners touched by this condition. Get ready to be inspired and empowered on this incredible journey through MS UnMaSked, Our Journey and Beyond.
Welcome back, listeners, to MS UnMaSked. Woohoo! I got the name right this week.
Woohoo! Progress.
How are you going, Allyson?
Look, I'm all right. I'm here. I'm surviving a few challenges this week, but I'm okay.
We're going to talk about pain today. So, Allyson, tell me about your pain journey with your MS.
Oh, wow. Where to begin? Look, I think early on when I got a lot of relapses that affected my nerves, obviously that comes with neural pain, and I got a lot of, like those razor blade kind of feelings, even at the lightest touch. I remember that quite badly in my legs and torso. Most of that has resolved. I've still got a little bit of nerve pain in those areas, but not nearly as bad. But I did end up going to the pain clinic at the Epworth, and I got treatment there for chronic pain. So sidestep a little bit, not MS related, but I've had chronic pain since I was 11 years old, or maybe earlier than that. That's what I can remember. That was the first time I went to the chiropractor, and it was because I was getting crippling migraines, and I had a really, really sore back all the time, like lower back. And so they didn't sort of find out till years later that I had something called spondylolisthesis and bilateral pars defect, which means the two little wing parts on some of those lumbar vertebrae were busted, both of them broken. So it means that the disc and the vertebrae can kind of move forward. So the vertebrae kind of crushes the disc underneath, and that's kind of what was happening. I had a lot of pain. So I've since had a lumbar fusion in that area to make it more stable, which has helped incredibly. I still get the pain though, so it hasn't helped with my pain. Anyway, I was going to the Epworth, to the pain clinic, to get some treatment. I think I was getting lignocaine, which is an infusion for a number of days, which can do all sorts of stuff to your mental health and, like hallucinations and all sorts of stuff. And look, it didn't budge things a lot. I don't know about you, but I guess I've grown up with chronic pain. And so when you have chronic pain all the time, your pain threshold is a lot different than other people's.
That's right.
And I may have mentioned it in previous episodes where I got out of bed one morning to go to the bathroom at 3 a.m., which is what a lot of us need to do. And I got out of bed and I stepped on my foot wrong, and I basically crushed my foot and broke my foot at 3 a.m. And I was in agony. It was really, really painful. And I still needed to go to the toilet. So I had to crawl there with my leg up.
About that.
Yeah.
I wondered, you didn't wet the floor or anything.
No, I didn't. I didn't. But when I did get into emergency that day, they said, "What's your pain level like?" And I was like, "Oh, it's 3 out of 10, but my back's kind of hurting. I think maybe I've jarred my back." And they're like, "Oh, so your foot's not really hurting?" I said, "No, not really that much," because it had gone into chronic pain level. And he got the x-ray done and said, "I don't think there's going to be anything wrong with it. But anyway, we'll get it done." Comes back with the plaster and goes, "Yeah, it's broken." And the nurse there, she was a bit savvy. So she actually said to me, "Do you live with chronic pain?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she goes, "That's why you gave a 3 out of 10, not a usual kind of response like most people would." So yeah, living with chronic pain, it sucks.
It does.
Sucks. It's really bad.
I lived with chronic pain before I got MS, and I have a similar story about breaking my leg. And I drove myself. So I slipped down the front step of my house, and my son was 2 at the time, and I let out one mighty scream because I heard it go snap. And then I hobbled over to the car and I put him in the car. And then I drove a manual car down to the doctor's and I got him out of the car and I walked inside and they got me in to the doctor and she goes, I think you've just sprained your ankle. Go up to the hospital and have an x-ray. So I drove myself up to the hospital, put Zach back in the car and drove myself up to the hospital and got the hospital car park was on a hill. And I managed to walk halfway up that hill, and that was it. I had a 5-centimeter diagonal fracture up my fibula, and they couldn't believe that I was still actually walking and that as well. But I've been a chronic migraine sufferer since I was 15, and I'm lactose intolerant. So that mightn't sound like much, but I spent most of my childhood in and out of hospital with acute bowel pain from it. And even now, if I have dairy, I'm in so much pain from it. But I've also got myofascial pain syndrome in my face. And so I've been living with that for over 20 years, unbeknownst to me until recently, when that was re-diagnosed. I was diagnosed with it in 2008, but I thought they called it wrong, that it was the MS. And
Well, it's
so
pretty
I kind of
typical
brushed it
sort of
off.
symptoms, right? You know, it's quite usual that it would be like, well, that's just an MS symptom.
Yeah, which is quite dangerous to actually assume that as well. And a lot of us do think that, oh, that's related to my MS when it's totally different. And so, yeah, the pain that I've experienced in my face for 20 odd years is not MS pain. It is something different. And now I'm seeing a physio on that. But going through the process of seeing the physio is causing more pain until it all settles down again.
Yeah, hopefully it's short-term pain for long-term gain. And sometimes we have to do that sort of suck it up to get those benefits. But yeah, it can be tough. It's a tough road. Pain is awful, 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 awful. And
so what did they give you tips and hints when you went to Epworth?
so some of the tips that they gave me about dealing with chronic pain was pacing, which I know we've spoken about several times before, which is about stop before you get tired and before your pain starts. Because at the point where you're actually getting tired and your pain's starting, you've already overdone it. So just do it in short bursts. And if you can do multiple short bursts, great. That will sort of like hopefully level that out. But if you need to do a little bit and then stop, it's okay. Because guess what? The cleaning's still going to be here. And guess what? The cooking can be still done. Like things can wait. They're not that dire that you have to like put yourself in harm's way in order to do those things. So that was one of them. I know we've talked about before, if it comes down to, doing the laundry, the washing, to use a basket like on wheels, because you can actually do that. That's like a really good one. That's right, a laundry trolley. Like how much simpler is that than carrying around like a big lot of basket of stuff that, my lower back used to just hate doing that. And yeah, it does. It did put me in harm's way and it did, exacerbate that pain. And look, because I was in pain like most of my life, I was basically addicted to painkillers since I was really young. I used to have a lot of aspirin when I was growing up. And I remember my brother at one stage, he actually sang a song. I can't believe I'm going to admit this, but I think he started singing the song, "Might as well face it, you're addicted to aspirin." Yeah, he actually sang that to me at one stage. He probably doesn't remember, and hopefully he's not listening to this. But anyway, but otherwise, like as I was growing up, I used to be the girl that was, hey, Allyson, do you have some Panadol or Panadine Fort? Do you carry any of that stuff around?
I'm
Sure,
that
I do.
person.
I'll go and get that for you. So I was just a walking pharmacist in terms of any medication, or not any medication, but any of the painkillers, just generalized kind of things. It was always with me, and I was always taking. I used to have at least 1 to 2 Panadine Forts, which is the ones with the codeine in it, just to go to sleep at night every day.
Do you take anything now for your pain?
I don't take any medication for my pain now. And the way that I manage it, because I've still got pain, like I'm not saying that my pain's disappeared, but it's at a manageable level now. And so what I use is something that I'll have to try to remember the name of it. I think it is called, don't quote me, but I think it's called Wong Tu Yik. And it is a Chinese herbal massage oil. And it basically produces heat. It's like a deep heat, but in a sort of herbal medicine kind of way. And I put that on my shoulders and my neck when I go to bed, because usually I'll get like tight neck pain, which can prevent me from going to sleep. And that helps me to be able to, dull the pain enough that I can drift off to sleep. That's usually a good one. What else do I do? Oh, I've got a leg massager. So I think I've sent you a picture of it.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I know you can't. It's such a shame. But I get really tight calf muscles, and I have done ever since just before my diagnosis. I remember going to the gym at the time, and I was like, God, my legs are just so tight. I don't know what's happened to them, but I can't stretch them. Like there's nothing I can do to actually stretch my muscles out.
Yeah.
And it was weird at the time because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't have a diagnosis at the time. But ever since then, it's just been tight muscles sitting in my legs. So I've got an electric massager. You can get some good ones and some bad ones. This is a good one. And it does just do like a gentle kind of, a pretty strong actually motion that actually massages my calves. So you stick your legs in the thing and that gives you a bit of a massage. So that's been quite helpful for my legs. What do you do?
Well, I'm on CBD oil by prescription. That just takes the edge off everything. Though some nights I can still wake up and my feet are spasming so much I'm screaming in agony. And so then I'll either take some more or I'll try and stand up. I know that sounds really strange, but if I stay lying in bed or laying down in bed, I just get worse. So I try and walk it out as best I possibly can. I should say hobble it out because I'm hobbling. I'm not doing a full walk. And like for my migraines, I take some pretty strong painkillers for that, but it wasn't made known to me until I was diagnosed actually with the MS about my migraines that your stomach stops working when you get a migraine. So any pain medication that you're trying to take doesn't work effectively. That's why I was always putting so much bloody toxic stuff down my throat, trying to get rid of these migraines. So now I take a medication to like an anti-nausea medication first, and then I take my pain meds, but I don't take anywhere near as much pain medication as what I used to. Have you, talking about pain medications, there's a really good show on Netflix at the moment called Painkillers. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet. No, it's on my list.
It's well worth watching. And then I noticed the other day, so that's a mini series and it's based on a true story. It's based on, it's about oxycodone. And then I noticed on the weekend that they've brought a movie out as well. So that mini series is based on the story of the actual drug company, the billionaire, how he became a billionaire and what they did. And also then highlights some of the stories of people becoming addicts and that the movie's about one of the women that became one of the sales reps for the drug company. And it's a real eye-opener about addiction and pain medication. And
fortunately, it's so easy to get addicted because the last thing you want is pain, and the thing that you want the most is to get away from the pain. And guess what that does? It gets you temporarily away from the pain. I used to do it all the time. As soon as the pain would come on, I'm like, rightio, time to just down another pill, not thinking that, I had any sort of anything else I could do about it. But yeah, it's easy to see how people get addicted to painkillers for sure.
Oh, yeah, and especially when these doctors were prescribing far above the dosages of what people actually needed because they were getting hits from it. They were getting all these perks, and the drug company was giving them all this stuff back, including women. It's just such an eye-opener on it. And each episode, as it goes into it, mentions they have the family and a photo of someone that did die from the addiction of it. And it's just horrible to think that, the drug companies have done this to people who, a lot of them are in need of serious pain relief, but not controlling it or monitoring it properly is horrible to think. I tried a lot of the other heavier pain medications. I tried Lyrica. I hated Lyrica. I can't even remember some of the names of them now that they give to epileptic patients for nerve pain. Hated all of those. They didn't work on me. They just didn't work. And I'm like, well, there's no point staying on this if I can still feel pain.
Yeah.
And I came off that, and then I pleaded and begged my neuro when cannabis oil first came on the market. And I did find some illegal on the black market cannabis oil to try first to see if it would make a difference to the quality of my life. And it did. And then I went back to him and I went, you need to get me a script for this because it's, more natural than anything else that's out there. But then I'm very mindful of it as well. I mean, I try just to take it at night rather than taking it during the day. And I know how much I can take and tolerate to help me get that quality sleep. So therefore, the next day I have far more energy. If I don't take my oil for a couple of days, I can't go for a walk.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line. I went to Bali. I couldn't take it to Bali with me. And by the time I came back, I was a mess.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, get back on my oil straight that day. But then it takes a couple of days to actually start building in that tolerance to it. And pain is horrible.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I'm very fortunate now to sort of have recognized the triggers for a lot of my migraine related pain. So I went through a phase. I was in primary school and high school, I was known as the girl who gets migraines because my mum, every year that we would get a new a school diary, she would write in the front, if Allyson is to get a migraine, she is to come home immediately. And it's because there was an incident in grade 6 where I got a migraine. And what happens is that my vision goes. So it would be like me trying to look at something and I just would have this thing in front of my face and I just couldn't see. And it was really quite dangerous. But I start feeling pretty nauseous and, big throbbing headache. And anyway, so he told me to just go to the sick bay. And I kind of was there and I'm like, I just really want to go home. Like, I just need to be home. I just need to go into bed and relax. So I was cheeky and I said to the assistant principal, I've been told to ring my mum to come pick me up because I've got a migraine. Anyway, so my mum comes to pick me up and I got my school bag from my teacher's room and he's like, I told you to just go to the sick bay. He sort of yelled at me and I was like, but I feel really sick. I just need to go home. Anyway, I got in the car and I'm like, oh, Mom, this is what happened. And my mum's like, right, I'm going in there. So she went in and she's like, I need to speak to you. Got my teacher out there and she blasted through him and just said, if Allison's ever gets a migraine, she's not joking. She's not lying about it. She needs to come home immediately. And that sort of started everything in high school for people to just go, if I get a migraine, I just need to go home. Because what happens is if I don't go and lie down to the point where the visual stuff goes away, I will start uncontrollably vomiting.
Me too.
That has happened before where I was like, I thought I could cheat my way out of it. I was like laying down. We wanted to go shopping and we're at a friend's place and I started getting this migraine and I'm like, oh, but I really want to go shopping. So I went and laid down and I'm sort of sneaking a bit of a look to see whether or not the spot had moved and gone out of my vision.
Oh, see, I still see mine with my eyes closed.
Oh, yeah, sometimes you can. But yeah, if it's in my vision, I was just like, oh, I think it's gone now. So I was like, okay, Mum, we can go shopping now. Okay, let's go. And anyway, I got out shopping and half an hour later, I was like, oh my God, we need to go back. And I just couldn't stop throwing up.
I get mine. The world is extremely bright and the colours are extremely bright. And that lasts for a couple of minutes. And then I'm like, oh, here it comes. And I get the little flickering of the white light, tiny to start with, and I get a blind spot. And the blind spot's normally down on the left-hand side and I can't see any of that. And then I have what I call kaleidoscope eyes. And then it starts. Now, if I don't get a Maxilon in straight away and then my pain meds, I am cactus. Because within 5 minutes, I am then sitting on the toilet and I've lost all bowel movements. And I've got to make sure that I'm sitting near that toilet or being near that toilet. And then it starts happening both ends. And then all the pain medication that I've taken has just come straight back up. And I used to be on migraine medication where you could only take one every 24 hours. So when you got a migraine, you'd take it, but you can take another one for 24 hours. I'd vomit it back up. It was coming back up. I could see it in the bowl, but I couldn't take another one. Then I was on another one where I had to do a suppository. And so the suppository left me paralyzed on the toilet and I couldn't get off the toilet. Wouldn't make my leg. I couldn't move my legs. And the kids were young. Zach was 8 and Ellie would have been 4. And he rang the ambulance because I couldn't get off the toilet. So I've had some really horrific. I'm a hemiplegic migraine sufferer. So when I get a migraine, I look like and sound like I've had a stroke. So I lose control of my tongue. It feels like it's all swollen. I can't get two words together in a sentence. It all comes out backwards. My one side of my body will go all hooky up and I can't move very well. But up until about 3 weeks ago, I have been able to control them, but I had a big one. And controlling them for me means like you going to bed, dark room, and trying to sleep it off. And then in around about 3 to 4 hours, I can get up from it, but not the other week. I got my meds in, went and laid down, got up about 2.5 hours later, and I thought I was okay. And then I got another one and it come back. So it was a double one, and I've never had a double one. And it put me in bed for 3 days. And that was really scary. That's probably the scariest one I've had in years from them. But I was misdiagnosed with the MS. So back in 2010, my neurologist told me that my lesions in my brain were from my migraines, because migraines can cause lesions and demyelination. And he put me on Topamax, my migraines, for 3 months. I still got migraines in that period of time, but yeah, the medication didn't work. So pretty much every medication I've had a go on. I had the one that you snort up your nose as well. Have you had that one?
No, I haven't. I was
Yeah.
going to ask, have you had Botox?
Botox gives me migraines. So I've had Botox. I can't believe I'm admitting this on a podcast. I've had Botox 2 times now for cosmetic reasons.
For migraines.
Yeah, for migraines. Those that can't see, we're like pinching in the air, inverted commas. No, I went in there for the wrinkles. And I had it across my forehead, and I ended up the next day with a migraine. And then I went again, and I ended up with another migraine from it.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that it would work, because my neuro then said to me that, if it does work, we can get you these for your migraines, because I'll get a clump of migraines. So I can go, 6 months without getting one, and then I'll have 3 in 2 weeks.
Yep. What I found with mine is that the ones that I used to get don't come to fruition, don't go anywhere. Sometimes I'll get a little bit of a spot and I'm like, oh, that's my migraine spot. I now know that it's a structural thing. So I vigorously rub the base of my skull, which apparently, according to my neurologist, stimulates the nerve fibers, and it actually can be effective in alleviating these symptoms, which it works for me for these ones. So I haven't had it actually, metastasize, manifest into an actual migraine. It just gives me the warning signs. The other migraines, I used to get different types of migraines. Yep. So I went through the phase of having those types of migraines, which was like a visual kind of prompt, and that was structural. I would also get ones where I would just get a crushing headache. Like it would be like my head's in a vice, and it was just the most.
I get that at the same time as all the others, or someone's like stabbing a knife in and out of my head.
Yep. Yeah. So the original ones, my headache would be bad, but this one was next level. So that would sort of be the defining characteristic, I would say, of that migraine. And I would also get what I think is a migraine, but it could be an MS-related thing. At one stage, I was getting just severe brain fog and crushing headaches at the same time, that I just turned into a zombie, and I just couldn't do life.
Yeah.
I just couldn't cope. And at that stage, I ended up getting the Botox injections. And for anybody who hasn't had Botox injections, like I went into my neurologist and said, oh, yeah, so I'm thinking about, trying these Botox injections. Can you book me in? And he was like, oh, yeah, we'll do it right now. And I was like, oh, wait a sec. Like I wasn't really prepared for that. And so he goes out and he gets his needle and he's like, rightio, ding, 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 in my head, all over the place. And I was like, oh, yeah, right, okay. That happened.
And did they work?
So I'll tell you what happened. What happened was he'd done them a little bit low. So this would happen to my eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sort of over-exaggerating, but my eyes went really droopy. My eyelids went really droopy. And obviously, if you get Botox, some of the times you can't raise your eyebrows properly.
That was like my whole face, the first time I got it, was frozen. It put way too much in.
Yeah.
And I'm claustrophobic. And so to me, because of the amount that she'd put in my face, I felt like someone's hand was over my face the whole time, pushing on my face. It was horrible. And it lasted forever. And I was having panic attacks from it. I'll just age gracefully now, thanks.
It's just traumatic. All of these things are traumatic. Like no matter what sort of treatment path you go down, there's always pain because of pain, or stress because of the pain, and trauma a lot of the times. Like it actually traumatizes you from these experiences where you're just trying to fix the thing. You just want to feel better. So fortunately I don't get those types of migraines anymore. Occasionally I'll hit a slump and I don't know exactly what causes it. But like a few weeks ago, I had it on a weekend and I was just like, I just need to slow down, I think maybe. And I just had to rest for the entire day because I was just shot to pieces. But Thankfully, I don't have the same level of pain and regularity of migraines that I used to get. And I think a lot of that is to do with not eating an inflammatory diet anymore. So I'm sure that back in the day when I was a kid, I was loading up on sugar and processed foods all the time. And I'm sure that would have triggered a bunch of those migraines and whatnot. So I think that's been helpful to have fixed up my diet. Yeah, it's a tough road though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And, I sympathise with anyone that says that they have migraines because, whoa, they hurt
Yeah.
big time. But, when I'm out doing a talk explaining what MS is and about our invisible symptoms, I'll ask people in the room, who here is a migraine sufferer? Who here has had a massive headache and no one's ever believed them? And there's a whole heap of hands that'll go up. And then I'll turn around and say, well, that's what it's like living with a chronic invisible disease. But it's every single day for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
Not just, I've got a migraine today or I've got a migraine at the moment. Every single day for the rest of our lives until they find us a cure. That's what it's like living with pain and the outside world not seeing what's happening inside of our bodies.
Yeah, and quite often because we get so many different ailments and so many different things sort of wrong with us, because we're not immune, obviously, to everything else that happens in the world. In fact, we're actually a bit more susceptible to some of these things because we've got MS. But you feel like a hypochondriac a lot of the time. Like a lot of the times you go into the doctors and you're like, I've got this symptom, like, hey, doc, I remember seeing you last week. I've got this new thing. And they're like, oh, and then they'll test for stuff. And there's a good chunk of time where they're like, well, nothing's come back. So, you're fine. You're normal. Just, just deal with it. Or here's some medication that won't work because it's not the right medication for that, but that'll get rid of you. See you later kind of thing. Yeah. And it's crushing. It really is crushing to know that, like, I understand that people can't see what we're going through. People can't feel what we're feeling. But geez, it makes it tough, right? It makes it really.
I've had some horrible experiences. Like where I grew up in Glen Innes, I used to be able to get a pethidine injection, and that would, within an hour, I'd have 10 minutes from when I had that injection to get myself home before I'd pass out. And a lot of the time, someone would drive me there, but there was the odd occasion that I would have to drive myself home. And then when I was pregnant, I had so many of them, and then worked out that it was caffeine that was giving me the migraines. So I haven't had a cup of coffee in, what are we up to, 31 years, or a cup of tea in 27 years. They'd give me half doses of the pethidine, and then they stopped giving pethidine altogether. And I can remember having a big one when I was living in Goulburn, and I ended up in Goulburn Hospital. I was quite often in hospital with them. They were that bad. And they gave me Phenergan. And 13 hours later, I was still throwing up. And they wouldn't give me anything more. They wouldn't even give me anything to stop me from throwing up. So I know I cannot leave the house without having my pills on me. They're always in my handbag because if I don't get them in soon enough, I am a mess for days.
Yeah. And you have to be prepared. Like even for just going outside, it's like, right, what have I got in my bag? Like, do I have my meds? Do I have my Mintec just in case I get tummy issues that I need to settle down or bloating? Do I have my pads? Do I have my, it's got to have everything, right? Plus all of your usual kind of stuff, because you got to live outside of that, and it's hard.
Our bags are our survival kits when we go out.
I know, right?
Because you can't just go into a chemist and get this stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Allyson, we might wrap it up today. We could talk about pain for ages.
Yeah, but I would say that, anybody that's looking for just a different alternative than medications for pain relief, think about going and getting a massage, on a regular basis. Try acupuncture, try cupping, try something like that that's down the more natural route.
That's right.
And that medicated oil that I use is called Wong Tu Yik, I think, and I get it through eBay. It's the best source of it, and it works really well. It's like a heated oil, and it takes away red. It's sort of like a brownie kind of color.
I think I bought 2 bottles back from Bali.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I'll have to
maybe.
Yeah, something very simple. It's got a root of a tree in it.
All right. Oh no, this one doesn't. This one's just a little bottle. But yeah, it definitely helps me to be able to manage, and it works really well on like muscular sort of pain. Even think about getting like one of those massages, electric massages. They work really well. You can get ones for around your neck as well. But yeah, anything like that can just help you alleviate that pain.
And go to a pain clinic.
And go to a pain clinic. They've got a lot of great remedies and a lot of great ideas for how to treat chronic pain as well. Because, oh my God, it sucks. I hate it. I really do. And we just have to do our best to try to live with what we've got to deal with every day. And I know it's tough, and I feel for you. I'm so sorry that you're dealing with that pain. And I hope that you can get some relief.
Thanks. Yeah, and you too. You too. All right, listeners. Well, until next week, you all stay pain-free.
Are you ready to be inspired? Get ready for the book that will touch your heart and ignite your spirit. Whispers of Resilience, Personal Stories of Living with MS is now available for purchase. Have you ever wanted to peek into the lives of individuals who have triumphed over adversity? Look no further. This highly anticipated anthology brings together a group of exceptionally talented authors, all living with multiple sclerosis, who share their personal journeys with unyielding honesty and vulnerability. At www.resiliencemindset.com.au, you can now secure your copy of this remarkable book that captures the essence of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Dive into the stories that will captivate your imagination and open your heart to the triumphs and challenges faced by these courageous individuals. With each turn of the page, you'll witness the unbreakable spirit of these authors, as they navigate the unpredictable terrain of MS. Their words will inspire you, uplift you, and remind you of the incredible strength that lies within. Visit www.resiliencemindset.com.au now and embark on a transformative journey through the pages of Whispers of Resilience. Get your copy today.